Hi everyone, I'm Eric Cadall here at St. Ignatius Parish. Thank you for joining us for our non-traditional approach to our Advent wreath making this year. You may have joined us in previous years as I'm delighted to start my 13th year here as the Director of Liturgical Art and Environment, working with all of our volunteers and all of our pastoral staff to make the church beautiful and ready for all of our occasions. In that time, we have brought the tradition of making the Advent wreath home to you. By doing that, we bring you the supplies, we give you tips, and we even give you the prayers that we offer each year. Unfortunately, 2020 has created some interesting challenges for us, and so we didn't want to lose the tradition. We thought that we'd make it digital. So today I'll walk you through how we at St. Ignatius create our larger Advent wreath for you at home, and then offer great tips in case you can't run out or Amazon all of the exciting things that we have. We'll show you 2 or 3 other ways that you can bring Advent into your home this year in a new and exciting way. Each year, we look for greens that are available in our community, whether they can be cut here on the grounds of St. Ignatius or can be sourced from the 5 states of New England. The most important part of our Advent wreath is that it reflects the community that gathers around it. As it is, we are on a journey together. That is the message of Advent. Peace, love, joy, and faith, that we gather together around our wreath. As you know, there are 4 candles. In some communities, they actually gather with 5. Some communities only use 1. Here at St. Ignatius, we use the traditional purple for 3 weeks and rose for 1 week. And so we find our traditional greens, we gather them with our traditional purple and rose candles to create our Advent wreath. And so normally we would use a foam sphere circle that we would wet ever so slightly to hold all of our greens and candles. If you are able, you can look for these floral spikes that have simple triangles and holes at the top that your candles will slide in. And you will find 4 quadrants, 1, 2, 3, and 4. And so the basis of your wreath should begin to look like this. The circles of each week. Again, purple for week 1, purple for week 2, Rose Sunday, also known as Gaudete Sunday, for week 3, where we celebrate the joy of Christ's coming in just a very short time, and then purple for week 4. From here, we look at the greens that are widely available to us in New England, boxwood, which you may have in your own yard, different types of fir, and in particular, this is a silver fir, so it's a much softer leaf and won't pick you when you use it, and evergreen cedar. Again, we choose these because they are evergreens in our neighborhood that symbol the eternal life of God's love for each of us. And so, with the help of a parent or guardian, we're going to use sharp scissors to snip pieces from each one of our pieces to begin the base of our wreath. Don't worry, there's no rhyme, reason, size, or scale other than you just want it to work in your base. So we want to clean off our edges and then begin to pop them inside of our wreath. We're doing this in a star or even sun-like fashion around the wreath. A great tip is to start with your larger, darker colored branches on the bottom so they fill up and widen the wreath, and then begin to use other components as the wreath takes shape. So as a first layer, you can use most of your firs or even some of your cedar. To start making layers. The key to this is that it looks natural. And so we want to keep rounding our edges, and we want to make the top picks come out at an angle, so that way it really makes what's the shape of a rainbow. As you see it start to come together, you'll fill out the entire wreath and then add small components of decoration as you wish, whether they might be pine cones, which look appropriate for the season, or other decorative items you may have. This year, I encourage you to think creatively about how you decorate your Advent wreath. Maybe the possibility of adding a small Christmas ornament at each candle, that when you light that candle and say that blessing on that Sunday, that tree ornament can go into your tree if you have one displayed at home. So I mentioned, Mom and Dad, that you don't have to panic or run out to Amazon all these supplies, though we will provide a list for you to utilize. If you do, you could also choose to find a ready-made Advent wreath that looks something like this, in the same fashion to not use the foam core component, using your candles in the wreath itself, placing the wreath on a tray surface that could gather water, and then in turn utilizing your greens around it as well. So that is a more traditional approach. So if we're just running around the house and we want to find something that works to create Advent because you need it for Mass this Sunday, let's show you a couple of the options that could work. Looking around and finding just an ordinary tray will do. It can be square, it can be rectangle, it could be round. Anything that you wouldn't necessarily use that for Christmas cookie baking, you could spare for the next 4 weeks of Advent. With that, you can use glasses. Here we chose wine glasses that can be flipped over in a fashion and become the pedestals for our candles, one for each week. Don't have the correct purple and rose color candles, that's okay. You can pull across the white pillars you have in your fireplace or on your bookshelf, wrap them in purple ribbon, remember, one in pink or rose for week 3. And then begin to place them on the bases of the glasses. The great thing about this exercise is that you can also create a new tradition of putting an ornament or a small goodie underneath each glass that's sort of captured. And when you light that specific candle that week, you have the opportunity to free that particular gift or ornament to add to your tree. And so we want to place these close enough together to give them some balance. Add in our Gaudete Sunday candle. And again, using the greens that you would have found in your yard, cut at the base, add only a small amount of water, and here you have a nice festive centerpiece to begin the Advent season. Our last and probably easiest, I think, is really taking us back to the beginning of finding dirt and sand. Fill up a round bowl, take your 4 candles. They can also be battery operated for safety. Place them in as you would, and then fill in with other ornaments and gadgets that you might have about from your other Christmas decorations. Pine cones that might have been gathered in the yard. or other favorites and finds that you might have around the space. You could also add greens to this, knowing that these greens could be changed out weekly based off of what's found in your yard. I think the most important part of our message is that you are entitled to be creative, to think creatively, and to think a little bit different about this year's 2020 Advent. We hope that you will join us in the digital masses or through programming or even in person to see our own parish's Advent wreath. Most importantly, we hope that you have a blessed and safe Advent, and I look forward to seeing you during the Christmas season. Merry Christmas.